Yes, good morning everybody. It's November and it's bloody cold here in the UK. Well, typical, isn't it? But we're also back here with another episode of our restoration for our Eunos Roadster. Going forward now, we're on to the last leg of the journey and the last big job to do. Now, I was supposed to bring you the exhaust manifold intake installation, but at the moment I've kind of lost that footage at the moment, but I'll unearth that someday. But for now, we're going to get on to the last major job, which is a complete new brake system overhaul. Let's get on with it, shall we? Now, before we get on the way, you must be wondering, okay, it's going to be very expensive to upgrade your braking system. And yeah, you're probably right with that one. But again, like the Mazda aftermarket parts here, you can get really cheap parts. Now, I'm not talking cheap tacky Chinese parts, no. These here, for instance, original OEM spec brake hoses. These are the rubber ones, of course. You might say, why didn't I go for the stainless steel coatings and that? But you know what? The original one on this one has lasted like 28 years, so, you know, why mess with it? I ain't taking it on the track or racing or anything like that. It is just for daily use. So there's nothing wrong with that. Calipers, you can get refurbished or brand new. These are new. To be honest, there wasn't much difference in price, so I thought, you know what, just get new. All the clips and springs you need, of course brake pads and discs, they're as cheap as chips for these cars. Now, for the whole system, front and back, all pipes, connections, every single thing you need to do this job. I got it in a package deal from a place in the UK called Mx5 heaven.co.uk. Now, I've used many parts of them before and they're terrific, great, excellent shipping. I've never had a fault with any of their parts. So, but they're the only ones that you can buy this whole kit at one low price. You can buy bits and pieces from here and there and then add them up. Normally, you know, if you go online, you'll probably find these calipers are about £100 each. But if you look around, you can get great deals. Now, I got the whole package deal rather cheap, actually. Cheaper than what I would have done if I bought it individually. So if you are going to do this job, do hook those guys up if you want to do a whole brake kit set. You will save a lot of money doing it in the long run by buying it as a whole. Anyway, without further ado, let's get on with bolting these things on, shall we? And here we go. Rightio, let's get these things installed, shall we? Now, the first thing we need to do on this side is to install your brake rotor. Nice and shiny. Now, this has a couple of holes here to put screws in, but unfortunately this never had screws, and a lot of cars won't, but don't be alarmed with that. There's no issue with that. Now, the first thing you need to do when you get these is you need to clean these off, because they come from the factory with a rust proofing coating on it, so you've got to really get rid of that sludge and slime. Same on this side. So once we've done that side, whack him on that side. There we go. So just clean all that goop off. Otherwise your brakes won't work properly. Now, of course, pads and discs for these Mazdas are so cheap. They're cheap. What can I say? And these are vented discs, so you know. Right, now we have that on. Now, the second thing we do is put our holder on. Now, this goes in between the brake disc and the backing plate. So, again, these are 14mm bolts. So you don't want to put this holder on first before assembling the disc. Now, this is the fiddly thing with this one. is gonna hold the disc on while doing this. Okay, let's get in there. Fiddly, but not a problem, to be honest. Okay, so that one's in. This one. That one's in now too. So hand tighten them up. You don't really have to worry about those screws in there because the wheel itself holds it on. So it's not going to cause a major problem. Yes, max feeding rods, I've still got them on the car. And they've done okay, you know, in the last 6 months that I installed them. No issues, no problems. Right, okay, so far so good with the max feeding rods. Of course, nobody knows exactly how long they're going to last until someone's actually tried them out, which is exactly what I'm doing. Nap them up, but what I do, I put my 14 on there, use a bit of the tap stick and just make sure. Not, yeah, you don't have to overstretch them, but just give it a nice firm holding, because you don't want these things falling off the road now, do you? Brakes are safety. So let's put that back on again. Yeah. There we go, look at that. Right, so once again, I'm just going to give them a bit of a... Just be careful because you don't want to scratch the surface of them and gouge them. Like that, so clean them up. Right, on to the next step, which are the slider clips. Now, unfortunately, in the kit, you get every single thing except for these ones. You know, there's a company also in Portsmouth, Mx5 parts, and they sell a rear kit like this, but they leave out a spring. I'm not too sure why these manufacturers do this for. Maybe it's so you have to buy more parts. That's what I reckon it is, but anyway, the old clips aren't that bad actually, so they just need a bit of a clean up, maybe a bit of a bend here and there, and all is good. So normally these parts are okay. Again, just make sure they're not catching in there because you'll gouge your actual brake disc up. So of course that one slides in there. There you go, like that. And two more round the back. One there. And one up the top here. Ow. Just trying to think which way these are. So, try not to put any oil on them, and they're pretty simple, to be honest. So, push the bottoms in, and voila, number one. Number two. There we go. Once again, make sure nothing's gouging anywhere down there. Yeah, see, just be careful of these clips because they can slide in there, but that's okay. So put him back and there like that. Nice and done. And now we get our two new spring clips. Once again, very important, they keep the pads spreaded and stop any rattles going on in there. So that goes there, and that goes there, like that. And we're almost home. Look at that. So once again, just clean up scratches and stuff. I have had a case where you've got a bit of dirt in there and you start rolling these, and then all of a sudden it gouges the actual disc, and that's what happened to my last one. But you know, it wasn't like anybody's fault, it just happened like that. Look at that, beautiful. So, caliper time. We need to get our 2 slidey bolts. One small, one big. One's a 14, one's a 17. So before we do this, put some of the silicone grease on here. You need a good sliding base, to be honest. Keeps all the water out, and it keeps your brakes sliding, so just like that. Try not to get too messy with this. So first one, put it over like this, and in you go. There we go. Boom. We're going to let that one hang there like that. So that bolts in. Now we've got the other one. More silicone grease. Of course, the idea of this, yeah, is to stop them rusting up, and they do rust up. I've had them rust up before, and I've had to pull them out many times to make these, because these are slider pins, and that's exactly what they should be doing. It's just sliding. So this one goes into the top. Push that boot down and fill them around. Wherever it wants to go in. There we go. Let's pop that in like that. Hey presto. So again, this is a 17, that's a 14, so let's do that. The 14 up first. Now always take your time while doing brakes, because they are a safety feature of your car, and you don't want to miss any steps, or you want to be really sure that your brakes are done the right way, because you don't want to be hurting yourself down the road or anybody else. If you are really not too sure, then it is suggested to get a mechanic to do this job. But if you're confident, and you shouldn't have any problems. So again, with the 14, just give it a bit of a tap with the tap stick, and make sure she's nicely in there. Same with the 17. There we go. There we go. All good. Let's try around. Of course, the wobble and that will come out of it as soon as you put your fluid in. Anyway, on to the next part. See you in a minute. Okay, moving on. Now for the next step, it is the hose time. Here's the brand new hose. Okay, now before you do, pick your hoses in the bag. Make sure they line up with the old ones, because they all go in a specific way. So we just take out the plunger here, where the banjo bolt goes. There we go. Boop. Now, two important things here are your copper washers. Now, you've got to get this step right, otherwise you'll be in a lot of pain afterwards. And you'll have to pull it all apart again. You got two little copper washers like that, right? So they've got to go in a certain order to make sure they are very clean and no crap. As you see on your brake caliper here, it's got a hole where this lines up with. So basically you've got to put a washer on first. Alright, so put a washer on first, then your brake hose, then the bottom washer. So as you see, by doing that, it's going to create a seal and won't leak. So do that, line up your hose, and wind it in. It is a 12mm. Again, in the kit for some reason you don't get a new banjo bolt. Which I find that a bit odd. Because I reckon it should come with every single thing that you need. So wind it in like that, and with your special wrench, as a 10 and a 12, use the 12 and tighten it up. Make sure it's tight and firm, not over tight. You don't want to. This is designed to stretch the copper washers, so it creates a seal between both ends. So make sure it's tight, because you don't want nothing leaking. Of course, when you do the brake bleed, you're gonna just check everything. There we go. I think that is good. And now we're on to our last step. Let's get rid of that. Last step is the brake hose, as you see here. Now that is supposed to just go up in there like that. It is supposed to fit into a slot, believe it or not. Otherwise you won't get your clip in. So let's see if we can do that. So, may have to use this. Kind of goes in, kind of doesn't. So I think we might have some crap in there. So let's kind of clear that out a bit. So let's line it up before we need a bit of WD-40. Right there. Yeah, a bit of that going on there. Just to loosen him up a bit. You always want to be careful these hard lines, you don't want to be breaking any. So, there we go, wiggle him down a bit, there we go. Right, now it's a bit loose. So before you put anything in, you just want to line this pipe up. That way you know it's not going to be threaded. So if you do that, then we can turn this one and line him up in the hole there. Like that. There we go. He's in there. Then you get your clip. And then you bash him in there. Maybe not. So anyway, that is the front brakes done on the Mazda. I'll have another look at this clip I'll see if I can get another one for it, to be honest, because that one does not want to come in play ball, so to speak. So, but I'll fix that up, and then we'll be making the next video on the back brakes. They're kind of the same exactly, to be honest, but they are slightly different because you've got the handbrake adjustment on the back of them. But anyway, stay tuned in a minute where we're going to continue with the brake bleeding with the one-man brake kit. Anyway, see you soon.